By car, by truck, by bus, by balloon. They come to Atlanta Motor Speedway tonight for NASCAR Nextel Cup Series qualifying on Speed Channel. Nice transport if you can get it. It's Halloween weekend as we come to NASCAR's fastest super speedway. They practiced in the daytime, they'll qualify at night. So, who will have the trick set up? Who will go home with all the treats? And will someone try to steal all of Ryan Newman's candy? Let's find out, beginning with Matt Yoakum.
Greg Biffle rolls off early, trying to steal some of Ryan Newman's thunder here in Atlanta. The temperature's falling. You've got an early draw. How big of a disadvantage for you?
Kind of a medium-sized disadvantage. Obviously here it's going to cool down a bunch. We've had some really cold temperatures at night here, so but we got a pretty good race car as well. So I'm thinking we get the Charter National Guard car up there in the top 15. I'm hoping, but we know from qualifying here about 20th on back, any decent cars will probably beat you. So I got to get a good lap in, and I know
one lap.
Yeah, probably one and done, but more importantly here, just for a pit stall, because Atlanta's so easy to pass here and lots of racing room. I don't think a start spot is that important more than a spot on pit road.
Pressure begins to build. If you laid out the final 4 races in the chase, could it be any better for Greg Biffle?
Not really. I mean, if I wrote on paper what 4 I'd like to go to, these racetracks are, well, I love going to the city. I like driving at these tracks, and I couldn't pick anywhere else I'd like to go, maybe a Michigan or California, but I don't know which one I'd take off. I love all these places.
When you look back to Martinsville, it was almost like an old school kind of racing weekend, bumping, people talking trash before and after the race.
Yeah, it was. Tony called me on Tuesday. We talked about it, but, it was just one of the things. A lot of people didn't see what happened. He run me in the fence, as soon as he got position on me going down the backstretch, and I didn't appreciate it, and I went back and kind of moved him out of the way, and people thought, why is he racing the 20? I wasn't racing the 20. I was mad at the 20, but we got it behind us, and, we'll just race hard the next 4 races, see what we can do.
And he had such a great run here in the spring, led over 100 laps. To Dave Burns.
And Matt, I was going to talk to Rusty Wallace, but I noticed he was getting a lot of encouragement just as I was getting ready to talk to him. What kind of encouragement are you getting from Tony over here?
Well, he's always giving me good encouragement. It's just, you got to watch this dude, because he always comes up behind me, takes his right hand and grabs me by the leg, puts these big old welts on me. It really gets me upset. So.
He moved fast when you came by. He knows something.
It's taken him a lot longer than others to learn. He doesn't learn quick, but he does learn, so there's still hope for him.
Look, man, I got 4 races left to get him back, and I'm thinking of something really good. I just don't want to hurt him too bad,
You're not losing sleep over that, are you?
No, hell no.
No, not him. You.
I can sleep anywhere at any time. I haven't lost sleep over anything in my life. I'm the one person that can sleep 25 hours out of a 24-hour day if the circumstances are right.
Look,
so
I can sleep pretty good too, man. I'm kind of liking this. I told Dave just now, Dave Marcus here.
Yeah, all the legends here as well.
All the legend here, man. Setting all the IROC cars up, doing everything.
That's kind of what we were talking about. He thought I was coming to mess with him. I said I wasn't even coming to see you. I was coming to see a legend. I said you're just an almost legend. So
you've only got 703 starts this Sunday, so that's not nearly as many as Marcus, right?
Marcus got a lot more than I got, man. No doubt about that.
Marcus has more starts that he's forgot about than we have.
Dave, you agree with that?
I don't know. I got quite a few.
You don't remember, right?
No, I really don't.
That was a long time ago.
I was talking about getting out of here, getting qualified done so I can get to my favorite restaurant. Now, this guy's an eater, dude. He understood that real well, but I want to get out here and go to my favorite joint,
So what I figured out here, that the draw tonight, if you drew early, that's what it's really all about. Dinner reservations. Rusty goes out 10th. Smoke goes out before that, and Dave has been in IROC cars all week, and I don't know where he goes out. Mike?
Well, Atlanta's a great dining city, and they're set to get at it. Aquavelva presents the point standings. Tony Stewart relaxed as the leader, 15 points up on Jimmy Johnson. Ryan Newman gained a spot last week. Greg Biffle lost one, and there's a look at the rest of the chasers for the Nextel Cup. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Atlanta. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and Jeff Hammond with you as it turns to nighttime here on Halloween weekend. Some bright spots from the day. The red car, Dale Earnhardt Jr., fastest in final practice. And among the 10 chasers we just showed you, Mark Martin, 4th overall, quickest of those 10. Remember what a great run he had here last October in finishing 2nd. So, Jeff, we practiced in the daytime, but is the nighttime the right time for qualifying here?
Oh, Mike. It's definitely the right time because this racetrack is fast, and when they cool this racetrack off, it's going to get even faster. That's the one thing you got to make sure you're a little bit ready for from daylight to dark, making sure that when you put the tape on the nose of this car and you pick up extra speed, that you don't bottom out. The other thing is, can you hold your breath for about 28 seconds? If you can, then maybe you won't be shaking too bad when you get done.
You think most drivers will take one lap?
One lap tonight. I really think that we're a lot of grip of the tires when they're brand new. So when you go off in this corner, you want to get all you can get. Coming to the race, coming up to the green is very important. Momentum racetrack, and you've got to nail that first lap. If you don't, well, you have to take a second.
56 seconds is too long to try to hold it.
Exactly.
So.
Larry, if anybody's going to go home with a Bud pole tonight, they are going to have to take the candy away from Ryan Newman.
Yeah, I mean, in the last 2.5 years, no one has sat on a Bud pole at Atlanta, Georgia, but Ryan Newman. And oh, by the way, the other time he qualified, he was on the outside of the front row. Now, I know he was only 8th quickest in practice, but trust me, he will be the man when they drop this green flag for qualifying.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rocket Man blasting off?
Yes, sir.
I thought that was the count to commercial. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Speed Channel coverage of NASCAR Bud Pole qualifying from Atlanta Motor Speedway is brought to you by Nextel, helping NASCAR groups get things done. NASCAR and Nextel, partners in speed. And by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. Closing in on the start of Bud Pole qualifying. There's Jeff Green's number 43, second fastest in final practice. He'll be the first to go. Here's Dave.
And I was third fastest in final practice. That was Brian Vickers. So we're looking at guys who might be able to take Newman on for the pole here. What do you think? How about the 2.5?
I think so. You know, I mean, I hope so. We've got a good car. The Team AC team did a good job in practice today. We fought it a little bit in race trim. We were real fast at one point. We went to the second practice, and all of a sudden it went loose. And then we got it back, and then we went to qualifying trim, and we're real happy with the car.
And Brian, this track, especially in qualifying, seems to favor young, gutsy drivers, right?
Yeah, or just not as bright, maybe. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. But I'm sure there's something to be said for you hitting the wall for 10 years probably makes you not want to sit on the pole at Atlanta anymore, which is understandable. But for now, I still like to try to hold it wide open.
Bright and very quick. That's Brian Vickers. Matt?
One driver in Team Dave showing signs of breaking through, really starting with that second-place finish at Bristol is a 31 and Jeff Burton. How about this weekend, Jeff?
Well, the Signature Chevrolet is pretty good in race trim. I'm really happy with it on a 15-lap run. The speeds look really good. It's pretty loose, but that's good. I want it to be loose, and I don't know about tonight. We made one Q run, and it was pretty much out of control. So we got to see what the track cooling down is going to give us. And but I feel pretty good about our race setup.
Same old Atlanta like it was in the spring here?
I tell you what, there's way less grip in race trim than I remember it being. Maybe I was just expecting more grip, but it's way less than I remember it being. Handling is going to be everything. You got to be able to I mean, it's way more like Darlington than it is like Atlanta used to be, I can tell you that.
And he rolls off second here in qualifying, guys.
Had a very strong top 5 last Sunday at Martinsville Speedway. When we come back, Jeff Green, Jeff Burton, Boris Said, and Tony Stewart will be our first qualifiers in Atlanta.
One final race, one final shot, one Nextel Cup champion. 10 races culminate in one final shootout for the Nextel Cup Championship. And only Speed is live, covering all the action. From Miami, the biggest weekend NASCAR.
Man, these guys are crazy.
With NASCAR Nation, backseat drivers, the chase is on, trackside, Bud Pole qualifying, NASCAR This Morning, NASCAR Victory Lane, and more. Plus, Sunday, the biggest pregame show NASCAR has ever seen.
It's crazy all over town.
Covering every possible angle.
This is a pretty interesting story.
Speed will be on the air live before the biggest race of the year.
This is an exciting time. No question about that.
From pre-race warm-ups to post-race burnouts, Speed puts you in the middle of it all. Door-to-door, beating and banging championship week on Speed. If you're not watching NASCAR on Speed, you're not watching NASCAR.
A big weekend at Homestead, Miami, and a big weekend for Speed Channel. Be with us for all the action leading up to deciding and after Who wins the Nextel Cup?
It will not come down to the last race. It'll be just like last year, the last corner of the last lap of the last race.
So a huge week going through all of Miami as far as that's concerned. Speed, everything happening, building to one climactic finish.
The plot is building as we speak.
Exactly is.
Well, let's look right now. Here's Jeremy Mayfield, 60 points out of ninth, 216 points out of the lead. Is that too far back for this point in the season?
All right, mathematically, maybe so, but I'm going to go back to 1 year ago, Mike. We came here, pretty much it looked like Kurt Busch and the 97 group. They were unstoppable. They had an engine failure here. Jimmy Johnson was over 200 points behind him. All of a sudden, he was in championship contention by winning this race, and Kurt Busch finishing almost dead last.
So anything's possible.
You better believe it. With 4 to go, it's a lot of racing.
Talk about anything being possible. Jeff Green, in the final practice this afternoon, took his Petty Dodge and put it second quickest guys in practice right there. I mean, pretty impressive run for that 43 car.
Now, if these guys are going to only run one lap, right here is the most important part of that lap. Getting up to speed through 3 and 4, building that speed, coming down to take the green flag right there.
Jeff has one 6th place start this season as his best. He has a 7th place start here at Atlanta.
Car looked really good getting into one right there, Larry. Didn't bottom out, didn't see any sparks come out underneath the car, and he's able to keep it right about the bottom of the racetrack. Looked really smooth getting off the 2.
I know they came down here and tested it, and based on practice speeds today, it looked like it paid off for this 43 car. You're only off the throttle just ever so slightly in the middle of these corners, especially qualifying. His first lap, 28.97.
And that's 2.5 miles an hour faster than he practiced, Larry.
But Mike, that's that cool temperature. This racetrack is cooled down. It's making more horsepower. It's producing more grip, and it's producing a lot faster speed.
So Green's first lap is 0.4 of a second faster than his practice lap, which was second best.
And this is the lap, guys, I believe everybody's watching to see what's going to happen. If he picks it up, it's going to change everybody's game plan.
Waiting on the timing computer. 28.97 the first lap. And an unusual delay for the time to come up from scoring. Still waiting.
Anticipation's killing everybody.
Well, the hamburger helper's
man.
ready now.
Oh, yeah.
But we're told it's 29.287. That comes from pit road.
And if that's the case, then what we've been saying all along, the first lap will be the most important one. You need to make sure you nail it, because you're going to give up a lot of time on that second lap.
So he slowed down about 0.3 on lap 2.
And that would be kind of like in tune with what we've been talking about all day long, Larry. You're going to give up 2 to maybe 0.4 on a second lap effort.
And it's because of what Jeff Burton, the 31 car, talked about. The grip starts going away with these tires, even on lap 2.
Officially, the second lap, 29.291. So still 0.3 slower. Here's the singular shape. Ooh, a bobble.
Well, he bottomed out getting down in the corner, Mike, and I'm just wondering if it kind of upset the car. By the time he got in the middle of the corner, it still was really not where he wanted it to be.
There's so many bumps down there in turn 1 and 2, and it's such a challenge to keep the car balanced from not being real loose or pushing as you go across those bumps.
But one thing we saw, in contrast to Charlotte, getting that left front down on the white line does not upset the car here as it did so many cars at Charlotte. Burton's time, 29.51.
He is in there really working that steering wheel. That car is not really up underneath Jeff the way he wants to right now. I can promise you, he's holding his breath 10 times harder, I think, than anybody else so far. And there are times are reflecting that right now. 29.51 for this 31 car, and that's not where he wants to be.
You're running so fast here, and as you notice, these guys, they tape the noses of these cars solid because it helps the downforce, it helps the drag on the straightaway, but it really makes the cars loose. This is an impound race. They are racing and qualifying basically the same setup.
Well, without the bobble on lap 2. Oh, still waiting on the time. His hauler driver earlier today, Frankie Nestor, was awarded the Pilot Travel Center's NASCAR Hauler Driver of the Year Award. Surprise presentation. Here's Dave.
And Jeff Green has completed 2 of the, I would imagine, more exciting laps in Nextel Cup qualifying. How was that lap? About 2 miles an hour faster than your practice time.
You know, everybody's going to be faster. I think that's a good enough time to be in the top 10. Cheryl's Dodge is really, really good. we tested a couple weeks ago, and they came back with a better race car. So hats off to my guys here at Petty Enterprises, and only got 2 or 3 more races here to try to win these guys a race. So I'm looking forward to that.
How does the track feel? Very grippy?
It's pretty grippy. I don't, felt grippy today on my mock-up run. So just a little bit better, and everybody's going to have that opportunity. And really going first, I don't think that's a big disappointment. I think later on in the night it's going to get cooler and the fog's going to come in and get the track, get some moisture on the racetrack. So maybe that first time out might be a good one.
Mike? Jeff Green talking about moving on for 2006 there briefly. Jeff Burton's second lap was 3/100ths of a second slower than his first. Here is Boris Said, who has to time his way into the show. Eccentrics Financial, number 36 from MB2, MBV Motorsports, MB Sutton, which is now all one team and relocated to a brand new MB shop in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Got a lot of room up in the new shop. We're not too far from where our offices are. Good lap for them.
Good lap. 29:35.
That's about 3/10 faster than what he ran today in his earlier practice session. And he was 17th in that particular session, Mike. So if this time holds up, he should make the race.
And this would be his first start here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
There were 54 cars here. Shane Hall has withdrawn. There are 53, so you have to beat 10 cars to lock into the field. This man's locked in, not to the Nextel Cup point lead, which he holds by 15 over second place, Jimmy Johnson, but locked into the show, Tony Stewart.
But Mike, we were talking during the practice show today, a 15-point lead. Jeff Hammond made note of this several weeks ago. Bonus points for Tony Stewart. The guy goes out, he leads laps, he leads the most laps. He scored 15 more bonus points than any other chase driver. What's his points lead right now? 15 points.
That is key. And this is the backyard of his sponsor, the Home Depot.
This is a car they came down here and tested. It was brand new at Lowe's Motor Speedway during a test when they crashed up there. One of the 2 cars they crashed during testing.
Green light for Stewart.
I'll say right now, his car is really smooth around the racetrack, Mike. He's really riding those bumps real well, not bottoming out. And Tony looks like he's able to stay in the throttle pretty aggressively.
28.92 for Tony Stewart, and that is quickest so far. But he's going to play 2.
Yeah, he picked up almost a second from what he ran in final practice this afternoon.
But Larry, I think we saw in that final practice a lot of guys like Tony Stewart, they were running laps. They were logging laps trying to make sure they had the right balance on their race car.
We'll have the second lap for you when we come back. Right now, Tony Stewart is fastest. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Tony Stewart's second lap was 4/100ths of a second slower. So his first lap, as every driver so far, will be the lap of record. Casey Mears, the Californian, now living near Lake Norman, in the final run for the pink paint scheme for the Target Dodge this year, breast cancer awareness, number 41.
And since he's been running this paint scheme, he has really had some strong runs as of late. I mean, this whole team, it seems like they've come together during the month of October. A little bit loose up off that corner, though. I mean, he had his hands full.
And he was only 42nd quickest in practice earlier today. But, yeah, this is the same car. He's had some of those good runs. 6th at Lowe's, 8th at Kansas. So this has been a good race car for this group.
Woo.
Loose again.
I'm telling you, he has got his hands full off these turns. I mean, looking okay getting in, but getting off, he is paying the price, Larry.
29.40, that is 4th of 5 right now. Mears will return to Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates next season, but his car number will change. Initially it was thought to be 39. Now we understand they're going to run the number 30, which will be released by Richard Childress Racing.
And the thing about it, guys, when you're running around a racetrack as fast as this track is and you're on the throttle so much, a little bit ends up being a whole lot. Just a little bit.
So Casey Mears, 4th of 5, with Stewart quickest, Green, Said, Mears, and Jeff Burton. Second lap, 29.52, 12/100ths slower.
Now, I wonder what Kenny's trying to tell Dale Jr.
He's describing something about his race car.
His expression pretty much tells the tale.
Or he may be talking about a local dirt track that he raced at last week. You just never know with Kenny Straker.
You want to buy a modified?
Not really.
Kenny's got one that Andy Petrie built, and it's a Troyer modified with headlights, windshield, wipers, tail lights, and it's registered for the street.
Oh boy.
When he called, tried to sell it to me, and well, just if you're interested, folks, call Speed Channel and we'll put you in touch with Schrader, because that thing needs a home and it'd be kind of fun for somebody. Bobby Labonte for Joe Gibbs Racing, another new paint scheme for the number 18 Asthma Control.
This guy's like Mr. Atlanta. 25 Atlanta starts, 2 Bud poles, 6 wins, and 12 top 5 finishes at this racetrack.
His season took a nice rebound last week as all 3 of the Joe Gibbs cars wound up in the top 10 at Martinsville.
And even though he has made statements this week that he still has a contract with Joe Gibbs Racing, there's a little bit of rumblings and rumor as to what he may do next year. And honestly, the talk is he's holding the key in his pocket to what a lot of drivers may end up doing, it, especially if he indeed leaves Joe Gibbs Racing.
His is one of a couple of names rumored to be the keystone to that puzzle of where everybody will fall. But I think the likelihood would be we'll see him right back here in the number 18 next year. But who knows? 4th for Bobby Labonte, 29.36. Let's talk to his teammate who is fastest. Dave?
That is Tony Stewart, still breaking it down with his team down here. Smoke a 9.22. You happy with that?
I think so. I mean, it's too early to tell, I guess, but I mean, we definitely made improvements for sure since practice. I didn't think we would qualify very well, but you know, 6 cars into it, we're on top of the board, so that's a good sign. I don't think we'll stay there, but I think that'll give us a reasonable starting spot, and hopefully we'll hopefully when they drop the green flag, we'll be on the front stretch, not in the middle of turn 3 when they drop the green flag. So I think we'll be all right.
Looked like it stuck pretty well. How'd it feel in the seat?
It was wiggling around a little bit, but you know, it's hard. We only did one mock qualifying run at the end of practice there, and it was in the heat of the day. Now it's nighttime, so car hit the ground a little more than I had earlier in the day. A lot of things are different, but it's going to be that way for everybody, so it ought to be interesting to watch tonight.
Great. Thanks, Tony. Up pit road to Matt Yoakum.
Dave, and listening to Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the radio during practice, I don't think I've heard you that excited about a shot at a pole in a long time. Pretty good shot, do you feel like?
Yeah, we got a chance to get in the pole tonight. The cars are real comfortable and really, really fast and race trim. After about 10 laps, ain't nobody here to run with us, so we'll try to get us a good starting spot and see what we can do on Sunday.
Now, the guys in the booth were wondering what your conversation with Schrader was about.
How we can get our truck driver to go faster. I got my bush driver, Martin McFarland, in Schrader's truck this weekend, and he needs about a second, so anybody got any advice, get down there and talk to him.
Larry Mack said he may be on his way down.
That'll help out a lot, because I don't know if he'll believe me. So maybe if all these different people start coming up to him, he'll know he needs to do something.
You know what DW always says, though? Too much information can be a bad thing.
Data overload.
Well, the Joe Gibbs team is going home early tonight because now all 3 of their cars have qualified. Denny Hamlin, coming off a great run last week at Martinsville, is the first driver tonight to run quicker on his 2nd lap. Hamlin's 29.15 is 3rd fastest. Greg Biffle, 1 week ago, talking about a little bump and run in with Tony Stewart. That's the one that caught Biffle's ire, and so they kind of traded things back and forth late in the race.
But you know what? Greg Biffle talked about it at the top of the show.
Yep.
He was mad at Tony Stewart. He didn't beat no bones about it.
That's funny. I wasn't racing him. I was mad at him.
Yeah.
Jeff, I saw something fly up from the back of that car with a little silvery look to it. I don't know if it was a piece of tape or what, as it came off the corner.
Yeah, I kind of saw the same thing, and it may have just been a wrapper or a piece of tape when they were taping underneath the car. It may have come off, Mike. A lot of times they use helicopter tape, and if it, you know, so one of the mechanics happened to be taping something up, cut a piece off, and got stuck on the back end, it could have flown off.
I'll tell you what, for a man that was only 35th quickest in practice, he should be pretty happy with this run. 29.01, it puts him 3rd quickest.
But at least he did what he said he was going to do. One and done.
He watched those first few cars.
Yes, he did.
We'll be right back. Sterling Marlin will be our 9th driver to qualify. After him, Rusty Wallace, Brian Vickers, Matt Kenseth, and Carl Long. Here's the Coors Light Dodge. It was announced this week that Marlin will make the move to that MB2 team for next year, and he will run his dad's number, 14.
I think that's really what's makes that announcement this week so special, because we've all been talking about where Sterling was going to wind up. But the number 14, it's kind of neat to see his father's number being brought back up, and Sterling possibly finishing his career driving that number.
His dad, Clifton Cuckoo Marlin, passed away recently, and in a long career had one victory in a Winston Cup car. It was a 125-mile qualifying race at Daytona. And he drove the Cunningham Kelly Chevrolet red car with a white number 14 on the side, towed it down from the farm in Columbia, Tennessee.
But a beautiful paint scheme on that car.
A lot of history.
Now, Sterling was 39th quickest in practice earlier. Mike, I couldn't help but think when you said the Joe Gibbs team will be going home early tonight, literally they'll probably be going home. Very unique schedule here. We talked about this being an impound race. The Nextel Cup garage is closed tomorrow. These cars lay dormant in the garage tomorrow. The garage is closed. They come back in here Sunday and get ready to race.
So it'll be a nice day off for everyone involved in Nextel Cup.
Well, for Sterling Marlin, he ought to be pretty happy with what he's been able to do. He was 39th quickest in that final practice, but he's picked up almost 7/10 in this qualifying run so far. Winds up being 6th quickest right now. Slows down just a little bit on his second lap.
Marlin is 6th of 9. Only 2 of the Nextel Cup chasers have timed in so far. Tony Stewart.
Second left front a bit or got loose.
I think we'll hear that a lot as these guys qualify tonight, especially with that tape on the nose.
Rusty Wallace in the Miller Lite Dodge will be our 3rd chase driver to qualify. Right now, Stewart is 1st and Biffle is 3rd of the 9 drivers to run so far.
And Jeff and I talked to Rusty a little earlier this afternoon, talk about loose. He said, boy, has this race car ever been loose ever since they unloaded it in the 2 practices today.
But we keep hearing that from a lot of the drivers saying it's not the same racetrack. Even Ricky Rudd told us early on that this racetrack is different for some reason, even though we're going to get an opportunity to run at night. As you see, Rusty's car looks a little bit dancing coming through 3 and 4 coming to get the green. But Rusty made wholesale changes to his car during practice to try to get it more comfortable driving into these turns at over 200 miles an hour.
Rusty's one of the chase drivers that certainly wishes the last 2 races were about 20 laps shorter. He'd be sitting in pretty good shape, getting crashed near the end at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and last week with less than 20 laps to go.
And that was a tough deal last week at Martinsville. The blame kind of fell on Jeff Burton, but in reality, Burton was just the last fella in a line. Somebody checked up, Rusty checked up, and Burton couldn't check up quickly enough.
Typical Martinsville wreck.
You bet. Green light, red light.
He was 6th quickest on that first lap at a 29.27. Rusty's going to go ahead and try to run this second lap. Sometimes the car maybe, I think it still loses that grip, but if it's loose on lap 1, sometimes it will actually tighten up just a little bit on lap 2.
Larry, he lost a lot of time on that first lap through 3 and 4. I know he's trying to make it back, but I don't think he's quite going to get there.
He ran the identical same speed as lap 1 essentially. Well, 1/1000th
of a second faster.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
The clock don't lie.
Good call. So Rusty takes 2. Let's show you again what happened last Sunday at Martinsville in the closing laps. But watch the cars ahead of Rusty. Casey Mears there. Lost his momentum coming up off the corner, and everybody's on the gas. When Rusty lifted, Burton was into him.
But the good news, Larry Carter and that crew, they got the car back out there, so now Rusty is sitting with 45 consecutive races without a DNF.
Here's one of the picks for the pole. Brian Vickers, the GMAC Ditech.com Chevrolet.
Yes, sir. He was 3rd quickest in practice today.
Bottoms out a little bit, get down in that turn right there. Green light getting into turn 1.
When we say 3rd fastest, the difference between he and Dale Jr. was only 1/100th of a second in practice times.
See it right here, though, going off into turn 3 and 4. We have a green light right there, and it's starting to really gain. So he's really picking up a little bit. In the middle of 3 and 4, he's starting to lose a little bit back. But I think this possibly would be good enough to get the pole for right now.
No!
2nd quickest.
Sometimes the clock
28.93.
It's a little behind. Hey, so he's going to play 2, and he's green light so far all the way. So this lap looking a little better.
Giving back just a little bit down the back straightaway, getting into turn 3, guys.
Now he's starting to lose it right in
Yep.
the middle of 3 and 4.
And that's where those tires are starting to give up that grip.
It really gave up grip, and he knew it.
He knew
He
it.
pedaled it. The difference
I think I could have got more on the last turn. Messed up the first time to 3 and 4, but that kind of had me spun out.
Well, he missed being fastest in practice by 1/100 of a second. He is 1/100th of a second off of Tony Stewart's pole speed right now. Nice run for Brian Vickers. Welcome back to Atlanta. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Jeff Hammond with you. And here is the fourth of our chase for the Nextel Cup drivers to qualify. Matt Kenseth in the USG Sheetrock Ford.
Now, guys, I know it's still early in qualifying. We're going to have 11 cars. Matt would be the 12th one to go. But to me, with what Brian Vickers and what Jeff Green have done already, what Tony Stewart's been able to accomplish is pretty big. I mean, he was kind of down in the pack, and he's been able to jump ahead of some guys that have been fast. So a pretty good effort right there, and that number might hold up better than he thinks.
Matt Kenseth was 22nd quickest in the 17 car earlier today in the final practice session.
Matt has 2 top 10 starts here with a best of 4th.
This is another one of those teams, desperation setting in, 9th in the points, 172 points out. And remember, you can only gain or lose 156 points over the course of one race, so they're more than one race out of the lead right now.
A good run for Kenseth. He is right on top of Greg Biffle, 5th fastest, 29.10. And that is, what, 9/100ths off of what Biffle ran. So strong run.
Teammates right there, Mike.
2 Chevys, a Dodge, and 2 Fords in the top 5 right now. Tony Stewart still quickest. And coming up, this is Carl Long. He'll be followed by Kenny Schrader, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Joe Nemechek, and the Rocket. The Royal Administration Vehicle Protection Dodge for Carl Long out of Roxborough, North Carolina. Here's Matt.
And Mike, whenever you think of speed, of course you think of Ryan Newman, but back in the 70s, 60s, and even in the 80s, Buddy Baker, you were always the guy that was the benchmark for everyone else in qualifying. Would you love to have a chance in your prime, or even now, to get in like Newman's car?
Well, you know, it's a game for the young guys, but yeah, I mean, they're so much better. They have bigger rear spoilers, they're more aerodynamic, better tires, the whole package. And I mean, yeah, it'd be a kick in the pants, but my day's come and gone. It's up to Ryan Newman and the young boys now.
Real quick, you told me that when you took Ryan, you're his mentor, you took him around Charlotte, the sister track to Atlanta for the first time. What did he say?
1/2 a lap. He said, I'm gonna like this place and I'm gonna be fast. You know what? He set a track record that particular race in the ARCA car that stood for 3 years at Charlotte.
Ryan Newman, 33 poles. This man, a legend. He has 40.
You know, Mike, I think it's really unfair when you try to take the young rookies of today and compare them to Buddy Baker, Bobby Labonte, Dale Earnhardt when they were rookies, because when those guys stepped into the sport, they stepped into teams that were not that competitive, that were struggling to some degree, even new race teams in some cases.
Buddy's one of my heroes. His autobiography, Flat Out and Half Turned Over, is the title. That's how Buddy ran.
Talking about somebody being fast, how about Carl Long right now? He has just put down a pretty phenomenal lap for this young man.
He will race on Sunday. 29.08, 5th fastest overall.
But Mike, he was 50th in the final practice today. So they've really worked on this car, and he's really got up on the wheel, put down like I say, a tremendous lap right now, and put himself in really good shape for racing Sunday.
Picked up a 2nd and 3/10 from practice.
Hey, I guess you finally held it wide open, as they say.
I would say so.
Speaking of Schrader, here's Kenny in the Schwann's Home Service Dodge from BAM Racing. And Schrader has 42 starts here, with including 1 outside pole, 8 top 10 starts.
Whoa,
get away from him there,
brother. Hang on to her.
Jeff, that car just wanted to take off.
It did. I mean, he did a good job of saving it. I mean, it just all of a sudden, it just came loose really on both ends, Mike. I mean, the back, then the front, and he was able to catch back up with it.
And you can see how much time and ground he lost off turn 2, and then it hurt him all the way down that back stretch.
Schrader has said he will run 1 more season in Nextel Cup, 2006, then move over to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. But his name is kind of on the question mark list for next season.
It's unknown what team he will be with exactly.
Stay tuned.
First lap, 29.60. Trying trying to better it here on this next lap. It's just so hard to do because those tires are just starting to give up more and more and more as you go around this mile-and-a-half racetrack.
And he got all the goodie out of it, saving the race car on the first lap down in 1 and 2.
The second lap pretty much same as the first. 4 1/100ths of a second difference for Schrader. Dale Jr. will be next. NASCAR Bud Bowl qualifying from Atlanta Motor Speedway brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR and proud sponsors of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car.
Speaking of the number 8 car,
do you like the way we timed that?
How about that? That was perfect.
Fastest in practice. Dale Earnhardt Jr. He has to beat Tony Stewart with a 28.92 to take the top spot from Stewart.
And I know this team tested down here, and there were several teams that tested. He was one of the fastest cars at the test.
This thing just looked fast getting into the corner.
He gained a lot of time right there, but it's getting off of turn 2 that I'm really more curious about. And so far, he's off just a little bit. How he handles 3 and 4 could be real important whether he's going to make a shot, make a run on his pole run.
Numbers coming down as he gets into the corner, and now holding.
Just did not get off turn 2, and that hurt him all the way down that backstretch. And we've seen many cars that's had the same problem. 29.01, that's only 5th quickest.
Same speed as Greg Biffle, but Biffle's
way
higher
up
in
the
the
racetrack
points.
right there. Way up the racetrack right there in 1 and 2.
He's had enough of that one.
And it took off.
But I guarantee you, watching him in practice today, mostly listening to him, he's going to be good on Sunday.
He was 3/10 faster than his league-leading practice speed, but currently that is 5th overall, 3rd fastest of the Chevys.
I think he knows he's got something that's going to drive good on Sunday.
Joe Nemechek in the MB2 U.S. Army Chevrolet.
Mike, don't you mean front row Joe?
Sure. Twice an outside pole sitter, once an outside pole sitter here at Atlanta in 23 starts. 9 top 10 starts here for Joe.
And Mike, this is one of those drivers that has quietly worked himself up into the battle for that 11th position for $1 million. He's 13th right now, only 48 points out of 11th. We've got 5 drivers within 62 points of that 11th position.
And 11th is a spot on stage at the Waldorf and $1 million.
$1 million, which wasn't that many years ago. That's all the championship paid was $1 million. DW lets us know that pretty regular. The year before he won the championship, the next year is when they changed it to $1 million to win.
He's not going to be on the front row this time, guys, but he did pick up quite a bit. Again, you see the car bottoming out, see sparks flying out in the car. That can upset what the driver could do with the throttle. If you get down in the corner, car bottoms out, he can't turn it, he can't get back to that throttle.
He even had a substantial tire rub going through 1 and 2 that last time. You can see the smoke.
When you see those sparks, the tires and the springs and the shocks are just along for the ride. Basically, you're driving a sled because it's the metal frame that's riding on the asphalt, not the tires.
And eventually, yeah, I think it's a distraction, and eventually it almost acts like the brakes being put on the race car.
Second lap for Joe is 11 1/100ths slower, so he will stand 9th, just ahead of his teammate Boris Said.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Don't go to commercial. Don't go to commercial. It's the Rocket. Ryan Newman, as Larry said at the top of the show, nobody else has a Bud pole at Atlanta in the last 2.5 years. He's going for 6 in a row.
And I tell you, I still think this is the group to watch for this championship because he's sitting 3rd in the points, only 63 points out. But remember, when it all started 6 races ago, he was 45 points out. So pretty solid.
Speaking of solid, Larry, I was watching him come through that through 3 and 4, and he really was carrying a lot of speed through there. See what he does down there 1 and 2.
In the dogleg, the car didn't look loose, hang on to it loose. It looked loose, fast loose.
But boy, he picked up a lot of ground in the middle of 1 and 2 to the throttle. And again, that carries all the way down this backstretch.
I don't know. What do you think about a guy that wears the same costume every Halloween? Pole man.
Look how much ground he picked up getting back to the throttle in 3 and 4. I mean, what a difference. And again, it helps that speed all the way down that front stretch.
This was incredibly fast lap, 28.64.
Woo.
Hang on to her now, brother. Hang on to her. He was trying to get him another one.
Well, this lap's quicker. Green light all the way down. Quicker yet.
I mean, 198 miles per hour off into turn 3. And remember, the backstretch is the shortest straightaway.
Little tire rub right there as he came off that corner, but he is just flying, guys.
Hit the rev limiter
He
there.
picked it up, 28.58.
6 100ths quicker than the first lap.
Almost 194 miles per hour average around this mile-and-a-half racetrack.
28.64, 28.58, second lap. Good job, guys.
Yeah, he's still trying to catch his breath. Wow. Here's Matt.
And Jeff Gordon getting ready for qualifying. And what a week last week for you, but especially for your young crew chief, Steve Letarte.
Yeah, I mean, I was so proud of him and that whole effort by the team, you know, never giving up, you know, and that's what this organization's all about. And, you know, that was a very, very special day for all of us. And, you know, I really enjoyed going to Victory Lane. That was awesome.
Can you carry over that winning momentum here to Atlanta?
I think we already have. We had a great test in Texas. You know, the confidence is there. The attitude is definitely there. And, you know, we're also making changes on the cars and getting things, you know, organized. And you know, I'm feeling real good about things. I don't know how we're going to qualify, but I think we're going to race really good. And, you know, I'm just real proud of these guys and how they've stepped it up.
Larry Mack and Jeff, you both know as winning crew chiefs, it's all about momentum and it's all about attitude.
But I'm always proud to see a crew chief get that first win. Jeff, even though a lot of wins are special, that first one always sticks with you.
It does, and as Matt pointed out right now, this is what helps build confidence and builds a bond as we watch the 7-car, Robbie Gordon, bottom out, getting down in the turns right there, and it's not really helping him. He's just about 16th right now on his first qualifying effort. Let's see if we can pick it up.
And remember, he's a go-or-go-home car, so that's going to be borderline, Mike.
But going back to how special that moment is, you just got to realize when you get there, it carries you into next week.
Tomorrow on Speed, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series returns to Atlanta. With Dennis Setzer's bad luck in Martinsville, Ted Musgrave takes the point lead. Just 4 races left. Don't miss it. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, live, only on Speed. Setzer got kind of roughed up last week, and Musgrave drove into the point lead by 54 over Dennis. Ron Hornaday, past champion, then Todd Bodine's Toyota, and Bobby Hamilton, the defending series champ. They're your top 5 with 4 races to go.
And all of those races will be companion events with the Nextel Cup circuit.
All beyond Speed. Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia, in the Wood Brothers Motorcraft number 21.
Man, he had a whale of a car last week at Martinsville. I mean, they were just coming up through the pack. He was just kind of pacing himself right behind Tony Stewart and got caught up in somebody else's problems, and it cost him probably an opportunity to win a race and wound up finishing 11th. But had a fast race car at Martinsville.
Easily could have been a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Just an okay lap here, though. 29.19, 11th quickest. But they were 51st quickest in that final practice. Really struggled. He was another one of those guys complained about how loose his car had been in practice.
Now here's another driver who may figure in the silly season mix. Should Rudd decide whether or not he wants to race in 2006.
Yeah, we talked to him about that on trackside, and he said within maybe the next 7 to 10 days he'll have an answer.
Okay, good. So Ricky Rudd is in 11th fastest. Here's Dave.
And Mike, some people think the Rocket Man is superhuman. I was at least encouraged by the fact that you took a deep breath after you got out of the 12 car. How was that lap?
That was because I ran 2 laps. And that we threw everybody's plane out of the water there as far as running 2 laps. But just a good effort for Alta Mobile and Dodge. Really happy with the way the car drove and the balance, as well as today in race trim. So we'll see how it shakes out. Really enjoy this racetrack, especially night qualifying, and hopefully we'll be as good tomorrow or on Sunday.
What was the plan for taking that second lap, Ryan? If what, then you were going to take the second lap?
I told Matt, I said I plan on doing 2 unless I feel I get it all in one, and I didn't feel I got it all in one, and it happened to be in turns 1 and 2, but it's a really good second lap for sure.
Yeah, he got more on 2. Matt?
The track temperature, Dave, has dropped about 3 degrees from the start of qualifying. Mark Martin, 4th fastest in both practice sessions. Strong shot at the pole, Mark.
Man, I had such a great race car with the Viagra Ford here.
Not going to take any chances with it in qualifying. I'll sure drive it as fast as it'll go, but that's not what we really do. Qualifying's not what we do. If we get anything in the top 10, we'll be in good shape when the green flag comes out. I swear this is one great race car.
And he has had so many good runs here. 2 wins at Atlanta. In fact, his last 2 races here in this mile-and-a-half track, a 2nd and a 4th.
Thanks, Matt. This is Mike Garvey in the Rinaldi AC service, number 75, a Dodge. While we were away, Stuart Kirby in the Marathon Petroleum Chevy ran a 29.42, 18th overall and 4th among the go or go home drivers. Garvey is another of those, and his first lap slowest of the 21 drivers so far. 29.68 his second lap, the faster of the 2.
Yeah, I just do not think with him being a go or go home car that that's going to quite do it.
Kyle Petty in the Georgia Pacific Brawny Dodge. Tonight is Georgia Pacific pole night here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. They are also headquartered nearby. So a lot of folks in the stands wishing Kyle well, and he's had a strong couple of weeks here.
He really has, and you saw on the graphic there, he'll be making his 50th career start here at Atlanta on Sunday. Team came down here and tested like their teammate Jeff Green, so the Petty Enterprise is putting the full court press on here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Kyle not that quick in practice, so well down the bottom half of the chart. Let's see how much he can pick up here.
See, he started losing a lot of ground even when he turned off down into turn 1. He started losing even more from the middle of 1 and 2 off.
But I really think, guys, with Kyle, I think he's really been focused on getting the car ready to go for long runs and race runs. We've talked about it. They've had some solid runs as of late, and I think that's the reason why they've been focused a lot on race runs, not on qualifying.
He is 19th on his first lap, 29.43.
That's a second quicker than he ran in practice earlier today. Kyle is hoping here shortly to be able to make the full announcement of what will be going on up at Petty Enterprises next year with the 43 car, and everything else involves sponsorships and all with both race teams.
Second lap about 2/10 slower for Kyle.
But it has been good to see Kyle up there having some good competitive solid runs over the last month or so.
Coming up, Jeff Gordon, Kevin LePage, Johnny Sauter, and Mark Martin. Gordon 1 week ago, a bright spot in the second half of his season, doing the lazy man's burnout, the one against the wall. But thoroughly enjoying it with new crew chief Steve Letarte and his Hendrick team.
Now, guys, did you notice after he won that race that Jeff had to go find his crew chief? His crew chief was just kind of standing back there behind the car, just kind of taking everything in. I mean, it was just kind of funny to watch a man who just won his first race, you know, just kind of saying, hey, I did what I was supposed to. I'm going to sit here and just kind of watch.
And it was Steve Letarte who made the winning call because track position was so important in Martinsville. There were few green flag passes for the lead. He left Gordon out, and he won the race on worn tires.
Well, he got his guy up front, but let's also give him a little, I guess you might say, a little credit to the pit crew, because later on they had a caution. Jeff came down pit road, and that pit crew got him off first and kept him up front. So, I mean, everybody really did their job last week, including this driver.
Well, what's amazing about that call that he made on lap 286 just past the halfway, I talked to Jeff on Tuesday night. He said Steve told him Sunday morning, somewhere about midway of this race, I've got to make a call to get you some track position.
And he did, and it was a winning call. 29.10 for Jeff Gordon. He is 9th fastest. Coming up, Kevin LePage, Johnny Sauter, Mark Martin, Jeremy Mayfield. Speed Channel coverage of NASCAR Bud Pole qualifying from Atlanta is brought to you by LA Rush, pimped out, juiced up, flying high. By High Endurance Oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. And by Aqua Velva. Aqua Velva keeps your face toned and fit. There's something about an Aqua Velva man. Mark Martin in the Viagra Taurus. On track, 4th fastest in practice. As he begins his lap, we'll tell you that Kevin LePage, a former pole winner here, had a great lap in the Vassarette Ford number 66. LePage is 4th fastest. And Johnny Sauter in the Miccosukee Indian Gaming Dodge, 19th quickest. He picked up on his second lap.
Mark Martin's got him a pretty good little run going here, Larry.
Good lap. He picked up even a little more on the exit of turn 4. So this could be a front row start for him right now.
Second fastest for Mark Martin.
28.79, 192.5 miles per hour, and I think he will be one and done.
One and done. And what did he say? I will drive as fast.
I might have done better the second lap, but I'll take that.
Yeah, because
that's pretty loose in 1 and 2. Oh, 3 and 4, I killed it though.
remember what he said. He said, I want to keep this car because I want to race this car Sunday.
He is happy with this race car.
Oh.
Dave?
And checking in with Kevin LePage. Kevin, when you came up to qualify, it said this driver must qualify on time. I think you did it.
Well, I'll tell you, my hat's off to Greg and all the guys. They work really hard every week to get good cars underneath me, and I'll tell you, the last few weeks have been a joy to drive for these guys. And first of all, before I forget, I want to thank Vassarette and Jenny King for stepping up this week to help us out, and all our sponsors have been with me the last 5 or 6 weeks with EAS. Everybody's been doing a great job, and we're just building a notebook for next year, and hopefully in the near future, Jeff Steck and all the guys can make an announcement who's going to drive this thing and what kind of performance we'll have next year.
That's former Atlanta pole sitter Kevin LePage.
Jeremy Mayfield will be the 27th driver to take time in the Dodge Dealers Dodge for Ray Evernham.
Big happenings here yesterday. Crew Chief Slugger Labby and Evernham Motorsports parted ways here with 4 races to go. Now they're sitting 10th in the points. They're in the chase for the 2nd year in a row, 216 points out. So for these remaining 4 races, Kenny Francis, who was actually the crew chief for Jeremy last year when he made the chase, and car chief Mike Chiclet will share the responsibilities for the remaining portion of the year.
Larry, he looked really good getting off the turn 2 right now in that 19 car. See what he can do down in 3 and 4. He may have picked up a ton of speed compared to what he did in practice.
First lap was 29.12. Yeah, considering he was 48th quickest in practice, I think they should be pretty happy with this lap. He picks it up to 9th quickest. And I tell you, it's tight qualifying. That little bit of pickup on the stopwatch, it was worth several positions.
Mayfield 5th among the chase drivers. Coming up, Chad Chaffin, Morgan Shepherd, Travis Quaffle, Mike Skinner, and Mike Wallace. Welcome back to Atlanta, where our 30th qualifier will be Travis Quaffle. And the Jasper Engines and Transmissions Kodak Dodge. While we were away, Chad Chaffin had a great lap in the unsponsored number 92 Chevrolet, 29.22, 16th fastest. And Morgan Shepherd had a very rough-looking lap of 30.43 in his Racing with Jesus Ministries Dodge.
Travis in the 77 car was 32nd quickest in practice. This is not going to be a very good first lap for Travis. He ends up 27th at a 29.59.
Shepherd's lap locked Kevin LePage into the field. LePage is 5th fastest overall, and he will absolutely race on Sunday, as likely will Carl Long, Chad Chaffin, and Boris Sebb.
Did you notice right there, Travis Quaffle was only 195 going off into turn 3. Remember, his teammate Ryan Newman, who's on the pole right now, was 198. 3 miles per hour different just going off into turn 3.
Quaffle faster on the second lap. He's now 26th. Dave?
With Mark Martin now. Mark, during final practice today, you had a lot of glowing terms about your car. I imagine after that lap, some more?
Yeah. Well, I'm very pleased. We didn't, we don't come to qualify. We come to win. And the Viagra Ford is just, it's incredible this weekend. And I said when Ryan Newman ran that fast, I said if my car would run that fast qualifying, we'd kill these guys on Sunday. And
it about did.
It didn't run near that fast, but it ran faster than a lot of other guys. So we're going to have a blast here Sunday. Pat Tryson and this team have given me, laser focus this year. And we've got 4 more races to win.
Led the most laps at this race last year, finished 2nd. Matt?
Now, Kyle Busch walked up and you said the big goal for you on this qualifying session tonight is to not wreck.
Make a lap.
Make it a lap.
Yeah, we didn't make a lap the last time we were here, so hopefully this time around the Kellogg Chevrolet will stick pretty good, and we can probably get her a solid top 5, hoping for a top 10 qualifying effort here, That's a ridiculous, stupid fast lap by Ryan Newman, of course, as usual. But
that was a what?
Ridiculous, stupid fast lap. How's that? We'll just go out and lay a lap down and see what we can get with our Kellogg Chevrolet. But, you know, his car was awfully fast, so we'll just do what we need to do here.
I think it's the Busch brothers when they're always talking about Ryan Newman here. I think Kurt called it ludicrous fast.
I think it was, but I'm going to tell you who just laid a lap down. Mike Skinner in this 37 car, 7th quickest. I worked with him. I got to say it. He's a qualifying animal.
Here in Atlanta, his home track, 19-year-old Reed Sorensen is going to attempt to make the show in the Discount Tire Dodge.
He's got a tire rubbing and bottoming out, so hopefully it won't mess him up too bad, guys. But right now, he's looking pretty good, though, Larry, but the thing is still not where it needs to be. You see the sparks flying out beneath and the smoke.
Yeah, he was 12th quickest in practice, and of course, Reed Sorensen will be full-time for Ganassi Racing in the Nextel Cup circuit next year, driving the 41 Target car.
Decent lap, though, 15th with a 29.16. He is right now 4th among the go homers.
And Mike, you mentioned his home track. It is literally his home track. There's a quarter-mile racetrack right here on the front stretch that uses part of pit road. He started racing on it at age 12. He has 84 Legends wins and 3 championships on that quarter mile. That includes part of the front stretch.
And he's picked up speed on his second lap, Larry McReynolds.
Yes,
up to 12th quick.
4th in the NASCAR Busch Series with 2 victories this year. And now he is 12th fastest, 4th among the go home crowd. That lap will lock Mike Skinner into the field. Kyle Busch. And if you thought he was kidding when he said his goal was to make a lap, well, you haven't been here the last few races when Kyle has been fast but failed to finish. Qualifying, that is.
Yes,
exactly.
He was 7th quickest in the final practice, and he's had fast race cars the last few races, qualifying as well as during the race. So let's see what he can do here.
Last time here, Tony the Tiger had his eyes closed.
Yeah. Yeah, had a good run at Martinsville last week, finished in the top 10 up in the 9th position.
Young fellow with a lot of drive and a lot of talent. I think a much more mature race driver than we saw here even back in the spring of this year.
Tell you what, he picked up a lot of ground right in the middle of turn 1 and 2, like he was able to get back to the throttle and was able to stay in it.
Busch is the 34th driver to qualify.
Same thing there. Looks like he really made ground up off the corner. So he's really getting to the throttle and able to stay in it on the exit.
You don't normally say this at Atlanta, but it looked like almost like he floated in, Larry.
Good lap. 8th fastest for Kyle Busch, 29.01. And he is the 3rd fastest Chevrolet to run.
Looks like he's going to run this second lap, and so far it's definitely picking up just a little bit. And there you go again. He made that ground up on the exit of turn 4. I think this is definitely going to be a quicker lap for the 5 car.
It is. It climbs into 3rd on the board.
Picked up a 10th. A little bit's a lot right now on the stopwatch.
So it's Dodge, Ford, Chevy, Ryan Newman, Mark Martin, and Kyle Busch.
But now, what did he call Newman? Insane or something? Busch, that was.
How about Carl Edwards? Who will forget the finish here in March? I know none of us that called it will. When he came back after Jimmy Johnson and became the first NASCAR driver to score his first Busch Series win and his first Cup Series win in the same weekend. So backflip ×2 for the weekend for Carl Edwards.
And he was 6th quickest in practice today. In fact, 2 starts here, both top 5 finishes in Nextel Cup.
And we got a green light down into 1 and 2. Let's see if he can pick up some speed exiting turn 2.
Looks like he lost just a little bit, Jeff, right in the middle, just to the very early part of turn 2.
And it hurt him getting on back down into turn 3 also, Larry. So let's see what he can do as far as getting back to the start-finish line.
Still going to be a great lap for this 99 car. 28.66, 2nd quickest for Carl Edwards.
Knocks Mark Martin, his teammate at Roush Racing, off the front row.
Now, I think that was pretty close to the same thing at Ryan Newman ran on his first lap. And remember, guys, he picked up quite a bit on his second.
Edwards needs 8/100ths of a second to snatch the pole away from Newman, but as you look at the tracker,
it's like he picked the throttle up good in 3 and 4, but he just couldn't quite stay in it on the exit.
Carl Edwards second fastest. During our last break, Mike Wallace timed in 32nd with a 29.56 for the Morgan McClure team. Scott Wimmer, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Spencer next. At Atlanta Motor Speedway, Kevin Harvick will be the 37th driver to take time tonight in the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. Right now, Ryan Newman is quickest. Carl Edwards, Mark Martin, and Kyle Busch are the front four. While we were gone, Scott Wimmer in the Caterpillar Dodge, 29.37, 25th fastest for Wimmer. A big announcement today that Hershey's going to take on an expanded role with this team in 2006 with Richard Childress Racing and Kevin Harvick.
Kevin was 33rd quickest in practice today. Lap 1, 29.25 puts him 21st quickest. Looks like Kevin's going to go for this second lap. And, right now, a little bit better on lap 2 than lap 1 if he can get through 3 and 4.
Car definitely looked smoother, especially coming through 1 and 2 that time.
But he lost a little bit of ground right in the middle on the exit of turn 4. It looks like it's going to be very close to what he ran. He picks it up just a little bit, but stays the same as far as position. You like good Atlanta finishes. We saw Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson. How about this finish here, Mike?
Jeff Gordon trying to beat Kevin Harvick. Coming to the line, lap car on the bottom, no factor. How close can it get? That close. That close.
Thank goodness for computer scoring. That's what I love about this place. 500 miles and it comes down to a finish that close. Very well could happen on Sunday.
Dave Burns with a fellow who knows all about close finishes here.
Yes, and also about very quick laps, trying to pursue Ryan Newman. Didn't quite get there, but talk about lap 2. That was interesting.
Yeah, the first lap was really the one that really got my attention. I drove into turn 1, and I planned on going to the bottom and making a nice, run around the white line, and it wiggled up, and I was like, man, I got on the back stairs, like, I gotta get my act together here. This is not gonna cut it. I'm gonna wreck this thing. So the guys did a great job. I gotta say thanks to the engine department. I mean, as much as I was out there sawing the wheel and wiggling, the engine's just run great. So that's a good effort, but man, I really wanted to beat Ryan, but he's the man in qualifying here.
And how good does this feel after last weekend? I mean, it was a tough weekend for the organization.
Yeah, that was tough last weekend. I made a little pact with myself. Whatever it takes, I'm going to be faster at Martinsville. That place has got me. So this is fun. I'm glad to be here in Atlanta. I wish we raced here, every week, every day, whatever. I mean, this place is fun. I really love it. To be second right now, hopefully it holds up for a top 3 spot. We'll lead a bunch of laps and get some points on Sunday.
That is a very good plan, Matt.
Special Halloween paint scheme for Elliott Sadler. 4 poles, your last coming in Charlotte, the sister track to Atlanta. Track temperatures down about 7 degrees from when it started. Shot at the pole?
I don't know. We'll see. It's the same car I sat on the pole with at Charlotte, and the guys repaired it back. And Eminem's car was pretty good today, but
that was a lap.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Newman's the best here in Atlanta. He does such a good job of keeping his momentum going, and it showed that on the lap tracker and the bus. So I don't know. I'll see. I know what I got to do. I know I'm not supposed to be out the gas long, but I'm gonna give him my best shot. But if we're able to beat him tonight, it'll be a heck of an effort on our part. But all in all, we got a great car for Sunday, and I'm looking forward to racing in Atlanta. Always one of my favorite places.
Guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Jimmy Spencer, whose team has signed U.S. Micro Corporation for the final races of this season on the number 50. Going to be disappointed with a 29.57, and that's a going-home speed. For Spencer, Stuart Kirby, Mike Wallace, Mike Garvey, and Morgan Shepherd all bumped out of the field. Locked in Kevin LePage, Mike Skinner, and Carl Long. Here's Michael Waltrip in the Dale Earnhardt Incorporated Napa Chevrolet.
Mike was watching practice earlier today, and we need to reiterate the fact this is an impound race. When the guys get through qualifying, they'll be putting covers over them. The next time these guys get a chance to get back in will be when they start the race on Sunday. But guess who was up on the top groove in the early practices today? High, wide, and handsome Michael Waltrip, blazing the trail as always. He loves running high around this racetrack.
But that's good news for this race on Sunday, because you're right, Jeff, right there at the very beginning of the first practice, those guys had 2 or 3 grooves of racing.
27th on Michael's first lap, 29.37. And the car walked up the hill a bit in turns 1 and 2.
I told you, Mike, the thing is wanting to go up there close to that wall. I said, hey, Mike, we're in the wrong place. We're supposed to be up higher.
The car just didn't look down in the racetrack.
29.42 on the second lap, so Waltrip 27th. Coming up, Martin Truex, Mike Bliss, J.J. Yaley, and Dale Jarrett. Martin Truex Jr., the Busch Series champion and point leader, who will move up to Nextel Cup full-time next season. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated in the Tracker Days Fast Pro Shops #1.
He was 5th quickest in practice earlier today in this one car, and so far halfway down the backstretch looks like a pretty solid lap. This is a go or go home car. They tested down here. Looks like it's paid off for this one car.
The bubble right now is Robbie Gordon with a 29.41.
Yeah, Robbie's in trouble right now. That one car, I mean, he had his hands full off of turn 1. A good lap. Fifth quickest right now. Backing up what he did in practice.
So as you say, Mike, that will lock him in, but that will send Robbie Gordon in the 7th car to the house. And then Martin, 3 races to go. Starting at Texas next week, a 100-point lead over second place Clint Boyer.
It's never over.
Guarantee it's never over. This lap's definitely going to be slower, but that was a great first lap for this one car, Martin Truex Jr. Slows down to a 29.06.
9 drivers under 29 seconds. And then 9 drivers within a 1/10 of a second.
Well, I was going to say Martin Truex Jr. just ran a 28.91, and he's 5th quickest. Robbie Gordon is a 29.41, a half a second off of that. He's going home. Tight qualifying at those kind of speeds, this size racetrack.
Mike Bliss, former champion of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in the Best Buy Net Zero Chevy. I think they're going in the right order this week with Best Buy on all over the car. And Haas CNC Racing announcing to Bliss's surprise that he won't be back in that car next year.
I want to tell you the biggest thing. I talked to Booty Barker, the crew chief, today. He said, Larry, we are about out of race cars. We're down to only 2 race cars. They have had some terrible luck. He said our biggest goal is just to try to finish these last 4 races.
Yeah, last week at Martinsville got caught up in that crash. It eventually, kind of took Ricky Rudd out of having a chance to win the race. Sterling Marlin.
Pretty solid run for Mike right here. He was 13th quickest in practice. It's going to be a good run. 15th for Mike, 29.09.
But Mike, the good thing about it, even though it's been announced he's leaving the Zero car, his name has been, kind of bounced around with a couple other teams that are already looking at him. So it looks like, Mike's going to pick up a ride here maybe in the next couple of weeks.
Well, he's proven he belongs in this series. He's done a good job.
Mike, I was walking through the garage area today, and they're parked in the garage. The cars are parked how they are in owner points. And I looked at a portion of cars about midway of the garage, about 13 cars, and it appears that every one of them will probably have a different driver for 2006.
You'll need a program in Daytona. Matt?
And Jimmy Johnson, you had a conversation with your teammate Kyle Busch. What did he tell you?
I was trying to understand what the track, the grip in the track and what his cars drove like. Our cars are similar. We didn't make a qualifying run in practice, and with the high speeds and everything that's going on, I was just trying to understand how hard he was running, and it seems like it was pretty hard. So I'm going to strap my belts down tight and see what this Lowe's Monte Carlo has. I think we'll be okay. Race-wise, we were really happy with the car. We were right on pace with the 6. The 8 was probably the best, it looked like to me, and then we're right there with the 6 on the long run stuff. So I feel good. All the chase contenders are going to be tough. 20 looks strong. 16 looks good. So just a matter of keeping this race car, having it on Sunday for the race, and have some fun.
Now, some fans will say that this track is so close to the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Are the setups similar?
No, I don't think so, especially the way things are now. You can't run the same setups, at least for us. So, it's close within reason. There's trends and stuff, but this track with the tire wear that we have and how much drop-off we have, it's a totally different place.
But his results are just about the same. Last 4 races here, Dave, a first, a second, a third, and a fourth.
Matt with Martin Truex Jr. now, a weekend off in the Busch Series. May as well bust off a fast lap at Atlanta, right?
Yeah, it was good. Got to thank all my guys. It's a lot of fun just to be here. It's the Bass Pro Shops home race, their race they're sponsoring, and guys done a good job with the car, so I'm real happy with it.
No extra pressure on you with the race sponsor on the hood or anything.
No, no, none at all. You know, no points this weekend, so it's all good. We're just going to let it hang out and see what we can do. So I'm real excited. The car, I think, is really good in the race trim, and looking forward to the race Sunday.
Martin Truex Jr., future Nextel Cup star, getting a little more experience here this weekend, guys.
Thanks, Dave. The Vigoro Home Depot Chevrolet for J.J. Yaley. 29-24, and that's going to be borderline. It does bump Johnny Sauter out of the show and send Sauter home, but leaves Yaley very little cushion with still 3 drivers who have to time their way into this race.
And didn't one of you guys say something about all the gifts for going home? You forgot about this car, didn't you?
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
They have 4 cars in this race this weekend.
4th Gibbs entry, exactly. You got us. What can we say? It's been a long day.
Miscounted the candy in the basket.
I finally got one.
DJ, here's Dale Jarrett in the UPS Ford.
He's another driver that was way down the list as far as practice times in that final practice. But Larry, I think like a lot of teams, he was really focusing in on getting his car balanced for the race. You know how Todd Parrott is. He wants the car to be really performing well on long runs. So it'll be interesting to see how much DJ picks up during this qualifying effort.
And I know that's where they were pretty good in the spring race. He didn't qualify that well, but he was good on long runs. But he was one of the first victims of the new pit road speeding procedure. In fact, he was penalized twice during that race.
Good lap for Dale. He is 6th quickest at a 28.91.
And he'd like to have a good showing. You talked about this Atlanta, Georgia being Home Depot headquarters. It's UPS as well, their home headquarters.
Saw his dad, 2-time champion Ned Jarrett, earlier today here, looking very fit. They were all at the Coca-Cola Racing Family Annual Dinner last evening.
And he only picked up, guys, about a 2nd and 4/10. So
Whoa.
You think that he was really focusing on getting his car ready for qualifying or for racing?
Yes.
It appears.
The 44th driver to take time will be Scott Riggs in the MBV Chevrolet, carrying the colors of Checkers. Restaurant chain.
Speaking of Checkers, kind of makes me hungry.
It's been a long time since lunch, too.
Lunch, yeah.
This will be Riggs' 3rd appearance here as that starts 17th.
He was only 40th quickest in practice earlier today in this 10 car. Has 1 Bud pole this year back at Martinsville in the spring.
And if you're looking ahead to next year, he will take this car number and the Valvoline deal with him to Evernham Motorsports next year, and this car will become the number 14 for Sterling Motor.
Yes, but just remember, actually the 10 owner points will go with that 14 car that Sterling will be driving. Scott Riggs will be one of those cars that will have to qualify on time those first 6 races of 2006.
Right. He takes the car number, but not the points that go with it. That's true. And Scott is 29th with a 29.33.
And Larry, just watching this race car, I mean, he's now back down close to the bottom of the racetrack, but on his first lap, he ran basically in the middle of the racetrack, and it just looked like the car was not really secure under him, like he was afraid to turn into the bottom of the racetrack.
And he's definitely going to slow down on this 2nd lap.
So 9 drivers to go. Including Bobby Hamilton, Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, Johnny Benson, Jamie McMurray, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Dave Blaney, and Kurt Busch.
Mike, I'm telling you right now, they're trying to tell us something about food, because here's dessert, the M&M's car coming out right after the hamburger car. So pretty interesting paint scheme there for the 38 car with Halloween coming up on Monday. I mean, what are your kids going to be doing on Halloween?
Scott has a Mark Pryor uniform. He's going to be number 22 for the Chicago Cubs.
All right.
And Katie has a Purdue cheerleader outfit. Her mom went to Purdue. Or she's going to be a cheetah girl. I'm not sure which. Some combination. We'll see.
I'll be riding around the neighborhood in my golf cart, watching everyone.
Yes, you will, with a cigar and a tall glass.
Yes, I will.
You might want to be watching this young man right here in the 38 car, because he's getting it done up there, putting down a pretty good lap so far.
Yeah, he was 11th quickest in practice, and boy, this group here, they have been on the mark here qualifying lately, and we've got about 3 of those Roush Yates engines up in the top 6. Looks like we're going to have 4 now, as he will go to 3rd quickest this 38 car, and he will be 1 and done.
Did you see that car flirt with the green light going into turn 3?
Just a little bit, yes,
all
sir.
in the mail. So it's Newman, Edwards, Sadler, and Martin so far. Casey Kane, the Dodge dealer's Dodge, out for his qualifying lap. A moment ago, the Craftsman Truck Series champ Bobby Hamilton timed in at 29:15, 22nd fastest. He is locked in along with Reed Sorensen, Carl Long, Mike Skinner, Kevin LePage, Martin Truex among the go or go homers, and that lap sent Boris Said to the house and puts J.J. Yaley on the bubble.
Jeff, a lot of bottoming out on this race car. We saw a lot on it in 1 and 2. This one even bottomed a little bit in 3 and 4, but the guy that was 9th quickest in practice, I think he's going to have a good first lap here. Yeah. 5th quickest for Casey Kane.
He may be bottoming out and skipping right along, but he's sure not getting out of that throttle.
Second fastest Dodge to Ryan Newman. They're the only 2 Dodges in the top 10. 5th fastest overall for Kane. That will equal his best start here in 3 appearances.
Always pretty solid in the race, though. 3 starts, 3 top 5 finishes for this young man here. Looks like he's going to run about what he ran, just a tick quicker, but he'll stay 5th quickest in the 9 car.
What's Kendall going to be for Halloween?
You know, I've not been home enough to know I even know. So it's hard to say.
Brandon's going to be a race car driver?
Probably.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I hope so.
Okay.
And I'll be in the golf car.
He could go as a crew chief and just fool everybody.
That was cold.
No, it wasn't. It would just, he's a driver. He's not a crew chief. Nobody would recognize him as a crew chief, would they?
Probably not.
Jimmy Johnson in the Lowe's Chevrolet. Boy, did he go on a tear at the end of last season, as Larry pointed out earlier. Edging Mark Martin, who was a very strong second. A dramatic win. A tear-filled win for Hendrick Motorsports. You see the logo on the hood. And the backwards hats. Memory of Ricky Hendrick. Now Johnson comes here once again. Second in the chase for the Nextel Cup by 15 points. Chasing Tony Stewart, who presently is 9th fastest.
He was not that good in practice earlier as far as speed, but this is going to be a pretty good first lap for that 48 car. 11th quickest, a lot of bottoming out. Now, you heard him tell Matt Yoakum, setup significantly different from Lowe's Motor Speedway, but that's the same race car that went to victory lane there 2 weeks ago. I think he will shut it down after all that bottoming out in turn 2.
Exactly.
So if that holds up, he would line up with his front bumper against Stewart's rear bumper when they drop the green flag Sunday. This is Johnny Benson in the second Bill Davis car, the Challenger Farm Equipment Dodge, and he has just run a lap that sends J.J. Yaley home. Benson will race on Sunday with a 29:079, 18th fastest.
I mean, that's just unbelievable right now, guys. We take a look at who's being sent home. Some pretty good times, such as Boris said and J.J. Yaley. So pretty wild. Very tight field.
Jamie McMurray, the Texaco Haviland Dodge, on track for Chip Ganassi Racing. And Reed Sorensen locked in. Bobby Hamilton now locked in. So the final spot in the field is between Chad Chaffin, who is already qualified, and Bobby Hamilton Jr., who comes up next.
Jamie McMurray in the 42 car. He somewhat struggled in practice earlier today. Was only 47th quickest. Looks like it's going to be a pretty good run here, though.
27th for McMurray, 29:19.
Much better than what he practiced earlier today.
And Larry, I'll keep going back to the same thing. I think a lot of these guys in that final practice were really focusing on what they needed to do for Sunday, because Sunday's where the big paycheck comes from, and I think they didn't really worry about qualifying.
Exactly. Plus, we do know that the track has cooled down significantly. He slows down just a little bit.
And we got to realize, where is Jimmy McMurray in regards to that 11th position?
He is 11th.
So it's worth $1 million. So you want to hang on to that. And that's how you do that, is make sure you got a good car for Sunday.
Not a lot to do with tonight, does it?
Not a lot to do.
The way they reconfigure the Nextel Cup points after Richmond, the top 10 have a big enough gap that the 11th place driver cannot reach the top 10. So to keep that separate, they put a prize of $1 million and a place on the stage for the 11th place driver at season's end. The tied Number 32 is the last of our go or go home drivers. It's Bobby Hamilton Jr. out of Tennessee. And the time to beat is Chad Chaffin's lap, which looked really good at the time, 29:22. 29th fastest. But as we've said, the track has cooled. It's gotten faster as the evening has gotten on. And it'll be up to Junior to see if he can make it.
And he was 15th quickest in practice. Plus, these guys, they sat on the outside of the front row back in spring. But I'm going to tell you what, they've got a lot of work to do going through 3 and 4. Right now, this lap will not do it how he is right now. Yeah, this lap is not going to do it. I just do not believe it, doesn't look like.
39th. And he needs to beat Chaffin, who is 29th. He needs to pick up 17/100ths of a second on this lap to race on Sunday.
And so far, it's not happening.
Number 39, got to go faster.
Crew Chief James Ince telling him, hey, that did not get in. And right now, it just, unless something really happens significant off turn 4, this Tide car will not make this show on Sunday.
Bobby's doing all that he can do, but he's slower on lap 2. That will lock Chad Chaffin into the field, but we're not quite done. Dave Blaney and Kurt Busch left to go. Speed Channel coverage of NASCAR Bud Pole qualifying from Atlanta is brought to you by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. Down to our final qualifier, the defending Nextel Cup champion, the Irwin Industrial Tools Ford of Kurt Busch. Dave Blaney will get his 6th top 10 start at Atlanta. He just cracked off a lap of 28:84. Blaney is 5th fastest. So it's Newman's Dodge, the Fords of Edwards, Sadler, Martin, Chevrolet of Blaney, the top 5.
Now, Kurt Busch in the 97, 14th quickest earlier today. I don't think this lap is going to be exactly what he and Jimmy Finning's looking for. Lap 1 as he completes it. 29:21, 30th quickest.
The car is definitely loose in the middle of the corner, Mike.
That's by far the slowest of the Roush cars. In fact, it's the slowest Ford to make the field tonight.
And he just did not get off turn 2 good, and he knew it, and he said, you know what, there's no sense in running this other 3/4 of a mile.
Don't take a chance right here. Again, this racetrack, even though you qualify not as well as you'd like to, being 30th right now, you can pass, and I promise you, these guys will be making their way toward the front.
Well, I think the key year here is 2002. That's the last year that someone besides Ryan Newman sat on the Bud Pole at Atlanta, Georgia.
Who was the last driver to win a pole here besides Ryan Newman? So long ago, I don't remember.
Maybe Ryan Newman remembers, Matt.
Well, we'll check.
Well, for the 12th time this year, Newman's on the front row, on the pole again.
Yeah, that's an awesome team effort. All-Time Mobile One Dodge was good today in practice, and we just love qualifying here at night. As a team, and me personally, the place is fast, it's sticky and grippy, and everything else that's good about qualifying.
And his mentor, Buddy Baker, 40 career poles. Now he has number 34. He'll have to match Buddy's next year.
That puts him ahead of Fred Lorenzen in sole position of 20th place on the all-time pole list, one behind Ned Jarrett, Fireball Roberts. Here's our Verizon fastest lap. Was it ever?
In one of the few cars that did it on lap 2.
Second time was the charm, so Ryan Newman takes home all the candy. We'll be back with the starting grid.
Now qualifying has concluded here at Atlanta. Now breaking news back here in the garage area. Now we've done some investigative reporting, and Larry Mack, just to let you know that Doodlebug, your daughter Ken, will be a snow princess for Halloween this year, but she wanted to know if you found your Charlie Brown outfit that she put in your motor coach for you to wear as well.
I will be wearing it on my golf cart with cigar and probably a nice glass of Cabernet.
But who's going to carry the football for you? That's the big question. You know, Lucy always pulls the football away.
Close Matt, Mike.
Yeah, the great pumpkin is sitting on my front porch, Larry. Come on by. Starting lineup for Sunday's Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll see a familiar face up front. By the way, the last man to win a pole here that was not Ryan Newman, Georgia's own Bill Elliott.
There you see 3 of our chase guys there on the first 2 rows, and then our points leader, Tony Stewart, back on row 5 in the 20 car.
But Larry, look what back's on row 6, right behind Tony Stewart. man is chasing in the point race, Jimmy Johnson.
And good for Carl Long back there on row 10.
That was a great
Good
lap.
race on Sunday.
And Johnny Benson in a part-time drive. Top 20 qualifying effort.
Got our hometown boy Reed Sorensen right there in row 11 also.
Kurt Busch got a little bit of work to do back there on row 15. And there is our final top 10 chase guy, Rusty Wallace. He's got some work to do too, because we know he's not very happy with his race car.
And Chad Chaffin hangs on to that final qualifying spot by 2/100ths of a second.
But Mike, how tight this qualifying was. You've got Ryan Newman at a 28.58. J.J. Yaley at a 29.24 went home.
Yeah, and look who's going home, guys. Robbie Gordon, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Boris Said, Jimmy Spencer, Stuart Kirby, to name a few. J.J. Yaley with a great lap.
And add to that list Shane Hall, whose car was withdrawn prior to qualifying. Ryan Newman's 49th front row start in his 149th race, his 7th front row start here, and his record string continues. 1 out of every 4 races in which they've had qualifying, Newman's won the pole.
And I tell you what, they've been closing the deal here in these final 10 races, something they didn't have in the beginning of the season, consistency. Now they have found it.
And how big could a win right now be for Ryan Newman and that 12 crew, needing to claw their way back up in them points a little closer to Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson.
Big weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway tomorrow on Speed, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, the Crown Royal International Race of Champions, and then the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Thanks for joining us. For Bud Pole qualifying, congratulations to Ryan Newman. Woo, what a lap.